to hit the recording button. I apologize. In communication as well, Althusser actually emphasizes that media messages, especially in our contemporary context, they are bombarding our environment. We are flooded by media messages, and sometimes related, think about any advertisement. If you have any political advertisement, or let's talk about the example of COVID-19 advertisements. They are everywhere. It's like you are being bombarded with COVID messages related to COVID-19. Even if you call someone, and instead of hearing the ringtone, after a couple of seconds, you start hearing a message that says that we have this challenge of COVID-19, and because of that, we must be practicing social distancing. And they also give you messages related to getting vaccinated. Okay? So he was saying that these radio, press, TV, they keep bombarding us with constant messages, maybe several times a day. And this is how communication also works as an important ideological apparatus. Any questions so far? Then I have 2 more slides to go. Acha bete, from next class, inshallah, we will have our discussions related to media dependency. ठीक है? थोड़ा सा शायद आपने इसमें पढ़ा हो. Those of you who are studying, taking courses related to what's that called, international communication, they may have learned a bit of that. Okay. Now let's talk about the difference of ISAs and RSAs. How are ISAs different from RSAs? See, RSAs belong entirely to public domain. Okay? Public, how to maintain control over public. ISAs relate to private domain. How I consume media is my subjective approach, is my personal attitude. What school somebody goes to, what sort of family do you belong to? Do you have a are you from a traditional conservative family or liberal family? So RSA belongs to public domain. Comparatively, ISAs, they belong to private domain. And RSAs function by force. Think about police, think about courts, think about army. So whereas ISAs function by ideology. So that is how they work next to each other, having each other's support and everything. All right, this is the activity. Since my class was ended abruptly last time and I wanted to assign you an activity, but I will be doing this today. For Wednesday, we will work on an activity, and I would like you all to come prepared to talk about examples related to ideologies. ठीक है जी? Okay, especially ideological examples. That what example you see in all of these ISAs. I prefer if you bring example related to ISAs, and especially examples related to media, because this is a media, culture and society class. So I would like you to bring examples related to ISAs to repeat from Pakistani media. I have given you some examples. I gave you example from school, from curriculum. I also gave you example from media last time. You can find really good examples from Pakistani media in General Zia's time period, how media was circulating ideological messages. And especially during General Ziaul Haq's time period, media's role in General Ziaul Haq's time period, and especially media's role during wars, 1965 war, 1971 war. So many war songs, patriotic songs were sung by famous Pakistani singers, and how they were using media as an apparatus to motivate people or to prepare people for a war that the nation was suffering from. All right, with this I have ended my lecture. I apologize I couldn't finish it last time. However, I am happy to take your questions. With that, I wanted to share some 2 important things. First thing is, I haven't been able to assess your first exams yet. My apologies for the delay. I have been pretty overwhelmed with the meeting of a couple of deadlines, but my schedule looks pretty flexible. after April the 30th, inshallah, from May the 1st. ठीक है? So I will get back to after May 1st. I will take maybe 1 to 2 more weeks to get back to you related to your grading of first exams. However, your midterm exam, I will give you I'm giving you a tentative date for your midterm exam today. However, I will give you an exact date later, maybe next week. I do not know when are we having Eid break like I need to recheck the university's calendar. So soon after we are back from Eid break, I'll give you what's that called? I'll give you the date. Sorry, I'll give you the midterm exam. I'll give you the date next week. However, soon after we are back from Eid break, you will take your midterm exam. That will happen on Moodle, and most likely now this time it will be an exam, not like unlike your first exam that you did, which was more like an assignment. However, this time it will be an exam. Okay. G. Questions, please. आज कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आया या आज सब कुछ ही बहुत इजी था, सारा समझ में आ गया that you don't have any questions?
हम समझ आ गए।
इजी था? And
यस मैम, लेकिन एक सिर्फ पॉइंट था, आपने कहा है कि पाकिस्तानी करिकुलम में इश्यूज हैं, लेकिन आई बिलीव कि हमारे पास अपना है ही क्या। मुझे तो करिकुलम में पाकिस्तानी कुछ नज़र नहीं आता, चाहे वो बचपन से लेके इवन हायर स्टडीज तक, ग्रेजुएशंस तक, हम सब तो फॉरेन ही पढ़ते हैं। हमारा हर चीज़, इवन हिस्ट्री के अलावा हमारे पास मैम मुझे नहीं लगता, या एक उर्दू लैंग्वेज के अलावा हमारे पास क्या है जो हमारा ओरिजिनल है।
अच्छा, your name is Abdullah, right?
नो मैम, उमर।
Umar, sorry, Umar. हाँ, Umar,
नो।
you are right. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, we have a funny sort of variety of schools. I'm saying funny because classification, we cannot even do classification of Pakistani schools. And we have schools who follow Cambridge style, we have schools who follow Oxford style of curriculum, and then there are public schools that are following Punjab textbook board, and then there are madrasas and low fee private schools, high fee private schools. We have a sort of funny mix. But you are right that majority children, especially those children who go to private schools, they are exposed to private curriculum. I am a product of an Urdu medium education system. Like until my matriculation, I studied like I was an Urdu medium. I went to an Urdu medium school, and for that I studied Punjab textbook board until I did my matriculation. And I know for sure for this fact that I actually was exposed to this sort of syllabus. So I know that yes, there are these, I mean, the history of this region begins with Muhammad bin Qasim. There is no mention of Buddhist civilization or these historic sites that that also carry a bit of identity for us. So I know for sure that Pakistani curriculum, especially the curriculum designed by the government, Punjab textbook board, it is burdened with ideological messages.
Exactly, ma'am.
Yeah, I am giving you this example from my experience. Chaji. Any question? Any other question? If you do not have any other questions, I would like to discuss questions that one of your colleagues, Fatima, she asked me soon after the class ended on Friday. Sorry, Fatima, I couldn't get back to you earlier. I usually do not check my emails on the weekends, but I did check email last time soon after I was creating the Zoom links. And then I thought, okay, Fatma's questions are very interesting. Let's discuss them in class. And then I thought that the idea for discussing them in class was so that other students could also learn. Thank you, Fatma, for asking these questions and also for allowing me to discuss them with other students as well. Fatima, her first question is, she talked about the idea of structural imperialism and how it can be used to spread ideologies as well from the core countries to peripheral states. So upon she thinks that Wait a minute, please. So she thinks that some philosophical thoughts, like Greek thoughts, whether it's analytical or continental, or any comparative thinking or ideologies, that are also spread through structural imperialism. Even Marxist ideas or other German philosophical ideas, they reached in South Asia, or most of the Eastern world, through imperial dominance of the West, be it military, political, economic, cultural, or communication imperialism. Your question is very important. Let me explain this question again to the rest of your class fellows, and then I will explain. Fatima is asking that many philosophical ideas, this is my understanding, that Fatima's question is that philosophical ideas, the base of philosophical ideas essentially generates in West, and then it comes to Eastern countries including Pakistan. Okay, so isn't this a sort of structural imperialism, that knowledge essentially is being generated in West, and then here, I mean, we see very little production of knowledge happening. So it's a sort of, yes, it is structural imperialism, but it is also imperialism happening in this sort of dependence, knowledge dependence, and um, um, intellectual dependence, I would say it, intellectual sort of imperialism. Okay, let me ask, do the rest of the people understand Fatima's question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Fatma has asked a really interesting question. Let me answer this question now. Fatma, this question also comes in my mind, and this used to come in my mind even when I applied for a Fulbright scholarship. When I applied for my Fulbright to study in the US, in my personal statement, I did write this idea that most of the communication theories that we read and teach in our classes are generated in the US, and their applicability in our culture is a question. So I would like to study in that part of the world where theories are actually generated, to see how the process goes, how are they tested, how are they proposed, how are they rejected, how are they modified, because this is an intellectual activity, unfortunately, which is missing in Pakistan. But it does create a sort of dependency, but it is also related to the idea of spread of knowledge. Knowledge does not belong to a single entity. It's a common thing. It is shareable, it should be shared, especially Greek philosophy. Philosophy has its base in Greece, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and all that. But let me tell you, in Islamic golden age, Muslims performed a significant role in the in the transmission of that knowledge. You know what? When Muslim world was flourishing, and I mean, each nation has had its down and fall. And when Pakistan, when Muslims were ruling the world, what happened in that time was, knowledge was flourishing. You may have heard the name of Averroes. In Urdu, we call him Ibn Rushd. Ibn Rushd. Similarly, Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Sina. Averroes did a very good job. What did Averroes did? Averroes read Aristotle and all these Greek philosophies, and then they translated them into Arabic. And when they were translating that knowledge into Arabic, not only that, Averroes was also writing commentaries on what Aristotle wrote, which means they were giving an analysis, and that analysis is brilliant. Similarly, science flourished. We know, we have learned this in our science courses from high school, that science flourished in Muslim time period. Al-Biruni, Ibn Sina, Ibn al-Hassam, father of chemistry, even algebra was initiated by Al-Khwarizmi and all that. Now they laid the foundation of this knowledge, and they are the ones who brought this Greek philosophy, Greek knowledge into the world's attention. Later, those Arabic translations by Averroes were used by by Western scholars, and they are considered to be the best commentaries until today. So they have this credit of bringing this marvelous knowledge to world's attention and enabling the rest of the world to take advantage of that knowledge. That was Muslim contribution. So first of all, in response to your question, I would say that knowledge is something that that is shareable, that should be shared. Now let's talk about this question of what are we doing? Like, are we generating knowledge from our part of the world? And this thought grew in West among scholars of color. When I say scholar of color, I mean non-white scholars, scholars who are not white, like Edward Said, like, okay, and those were the scholars who laid the foundation of post-colonialism, especially Edward Said, Gayatri Spivak, and Homi Bhabha. Homi Bhabha and Gayatri Spivak are Indian scholars. Edward Said was a Palestinian scholar. Would you believe the scholarship that Edward Said generated that let Harvard University and Princeton University revise their Middle Eastern studies courses? That was the impact of his. He said that what you have said is not applicable to our part of the world. And what you are doing, our world is different from that. So Orient means East. And that's what he wrote in his Orientalism. And that I mean, emphasized Brown University, Princeton, Harvard, MIT to change their syllabi. So although we are from deprived countries, disadvantaged people, we are marginalized people on earth, being from a third world country, but we bring value to academic discussion by saying that theories that were generated or created in your part of the world, they are not applicable. Many scholars, Ejaz Ahmed is a wonderful scholar. Ejaz Ahmed has even claimed that uh, that uh, Marxism cannot be applied to Pakistan, especially our part of the world, because Marxism generated in West, in Germany, and they had different sort of working relationships. हमारा जो feudalism है, Jagirdarana Nizam, we have altogether different sort of working relationship, Zamidarana Nizam. And so many of those ideas do not seem to be applicable for our part of the world. However, being scholars, it is our job to bring our issues into world's attention. Okay? This is what scholars do. Okay, we are not science people who invent things or discover things, but we invent, discover, and formulate ideas that eventually leads toward formation and change of policies. So we actually present worldviews. This is how I will respond to your question. Usama has raised his hand, and earlier Adil also raised his hand. Usama and Adil, let me finish Fatima's questions and then I will let you speak. Is that okay? Acha ji. Now, next question. Her next question is, when it comes to media, the research done upon how the media works, we notice that most of the existing research is concentrated upon Western media coverage. Yes, with little research on non-Western news sources. This lack of research done on non-Western media is proof that persistence of Western hegemonic traditions. Yes, that is correct. But again, this is not to say that there isn't any research on West Pakistani media, or I can tell you the names. You see, I mean, we do have intellectuals. We have finest intellectuals from this country who are producing marvelous works, but sometimes it surprises me that our students do not seem to be aware of their works. I would like to ask, how many of you are familiar with Dr. Mehboob ul Haq? Can you raise hands? If anyone knows the name Dr. Mehboob Haq, please raise your hands. Nobody? Now this shocks me. Dr. Mehboob Haq is one of this country's finest intellectuals. He was engaged by United Nations and he wrote a book. Especially, I highly recommend that you read his book, Reflections on Human Development, where he talked about the problems that persist in Pakistan. And Dr. Mehboob Haq is like I am not sure where he studied. I think at Oxford or Harvard, but his books are published by Harvard University Press and Princeton University Press. I mean, imagine an intellectual of this caliber. And there he has talked about situations in Pakistan. Similarly, about the analysis of functioning of media in Pakistan. How many of you are familiar with Huma Yusuf? Huma Yusuf, she got funding from BBC Media Action. Fatima is familiar with her name. And similarly, she received funding from Open Society Foundation. She is also a Woodrow Wilson scholar. And she has, Ayan is also familiar with her name. She has produced one wonderful analysis. Unfortunately, those analyses do not exist in the form of research articles or scholarly articles. They are available in media report, in the forms of media reports. If anyone is interested, I have read those reports and I have them with me, I can share. So Fatima, I hope I have tried to answer your questions, but again, if there are any more questions that I could not answer, feel free to ask. I would like Adil speak first and then Usama. Yes, Adil, go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. I want to mention my point by saying that you are talking about the history of Muslim scientists and medicine and in the field of science as well. Before your class, I was reading a book, The Lost Islamic History by Faris Al-Khatib. He's writing a complete chapters on the contribution of Muslim scientists in the field of medicine. And if someone want to read, the book is here, the stuff like that. So this book is completely cover the era that is based on the science, and this starts in 9th century AD till 12th century AD, and that is the complete era of medicine and science and role of Avicenna. And he talk about every Muslim scientist who play a role in the field of medicine as well.
Shabash Adil, thank you. I appreciate your reading and I also appreciate your showing of the book to your class fellows. Usama, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum assalam.
Ma'am, earlier you were talking about when you were responding to the to Fatma's question. You were saying that there are so many work in here that we have translated from the Western of the Western philosophers. So, ma'am, I also heard something like Allama Iqbal. He also translated so many. Like most of his work is like translated from what he studied in Germany, like the work of Nietzsche and like the uh, the other German philosophers. So, is it true?
Allama Iqbal did not translate any work. He was influenced. He was influenced by Nietzsche, a German philosopher. He was influenced by the idea of existentialism. And I think his thesis, he wrote about it in his doctoral thesis, The Nature of Metaphysics, something like that. That was the title of his doctoral dissertation. Allama Iqbal, he mostly focused on poetry. However, if you are interested in reading him more, I suggest and I highly recommend that you read his book that he wrote just a year before his death. The title of the book is The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam. And the book is based on his lectures that he gave in London, a couple of lectures in London and then in Indian universities. And he was influenced by Al-Ghazali, an Islamic figure. Yeah. So he was, he sort of appears in Pakistani's mindsets as a poet or, but they, unfortunately, many Pakistanis are not familiar with his philosophical work. His philosophical work mostly appears in his book that I just mentioned.
Ma'am,
He was not a translator though.
ma'am, did you said he was influenced by Imam Ghazali?
Influenced, or yeah, he did write about Imam Ghazali in his last book. I read the book several years ago, and yeah, he was, in a way. Adil, go ahead.
Not sure if he's a male or female, but the name is Matilda Betham. And ma'am, there was this guy. He was saying that his poem "Lape aati hai dua ban ke tamanna meri." It was like the poem is like translated from that poem into Urdu. Like it's the same. The theme and the wordings are also the same.
I am sorry, I cannot talk about it because I
Can I,
haven't heard
can,
about it.
can I respond to you?
Ji.
There is a term in Urdu, if I'm not forgetting the name, tasmeed. You quote someone if you want to in your poetry. It doesn't matter. It's not the like you are copying someone.
All right, thank you. Any other student, any other question related to media culture and society? I like, this is my favorite subject. This is also my area of expertise. And I truly believe that media is situated in culture and culture is reflected in media. So these two things always go hand in hand and they can never be separated. You are giving many examples of cultural artifacts, and let me tell you, books are also a form of media because they are written for masses and they are read by masses. So this is I mean, I love doing these debates. I have been a little behind in syllabus, and it's because I let my students talk and share their knowledge. We are already having limitations of online teaching, and I mean, if I just come, deliver my lecture, and do not take your comments and questions, my speed would have been way faster, I believe. But I do not want to do that. Inshallah, we will also cover the syllabus. I have been very, very regular and punctual in terms of taking classes. So inshallah, we will finish that as well. But let me tell you a fact about myself. When I was at your age, when I took this class, Media, Culture and Society, I literally, uh, I got very scared of this course, very scared and very, I mean, I was at the verge of almost starting to hate this course. And I do not know. I mean, the way I was taught Frankfurt School, and the way I was taught this Birmingham School, and then these Gramsci ideas, theoretical apparatus ideas, I would never understand anything. But considering my experience, I do not want to do the same thing with my students. I want to generate your interest here, and I want, because this is a marvelous course, and if you really get a grip of concepts here, you can do very creative critical things in future, inshallah. ठीक है फातिमा बेटे, कोई और क्वेश्चन है आपका? Did I answer all your questions?
Yes, ma'am. Just that when I was talking about how Western hegemony and structural imperialism leads ideologies, I wasn't exactly saying that there aren't any Eastern philosophers who have that. I was just saying there's a connection between how structural imperialism spreads ideologies towards societies or people like in the Eastern world who are not familiar with the Western ideas. That's what I was actually.
There is connection. You are right. You're thinking. I mean, your thinking is quite straight and it's on the right track. Yes, there is. Of course, there is structural imperialism that is there to support the whole hegemony that is happening. If you are really interested in reading and knowing more about this sort of hegemony or imperialism, I would also suggest you a name, Jean Francois Lyotard. He's the one who actually kind of initiated the debate on postmodernism. It's a very small read, very small read. You can read it during summer break, or I'm not asking you to read it during this course, of course, I mean sometimes in future, but you will enjoy reading it. I'll write the name in the chat box. ठीक है, I just wrote the name in the chat box. ठीक है जी. All right, students, I'll see you next time, inshallah. Thank you so much for your time. I'll end the session now. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Thank you.